This video is for those students who are working on letter formation. And I know there's a lot of information on this sheet, so don't get overwhelmed by it, but I'm trying to give you lots of details in a small space. So I always try and start with teaching students uppercase letter formation. And we do that because in the uppercase letters, all the letters start at the top and end on the baseline. They're also all the same size. And so it's not requiring as much attention to little details that the lowercase letters require. So even though we don't typically use uppercase letters as frequently, if they can get these letters down well, then that's just going to help them as they move to the lowercase letters. So what I like to do is I always try and have a student trace one and then do one. So instead of having a whole bunch of A's on a page and then a whole bunch of B's, we really just need to trace one and do one. And if they master that, then they don't need to practice it multiple times. If you try it and they don't do something correct or they struggle with something, then start again with another trace and do. But always give an example for them to trace and then an opportunity to show what they know. Another tip, just in case you have a left-handed student, is to give the example to the right and have them do theirs to the left so that they can see the model of the letter that they're working on, because otherwise their hand covers their example. So that's my sort of left-handed tip. So on this trace one, you would start on the green dot, and hopefully most of your kiddos have been doing that for long enough that they're familiar with, we start on the green and we stop on the red, and then we come back up and go back down and stop and then cross in the middle. And then on the do one, they would start and go down and stop and come back up, go down and stop and cross in the middle. And so you're really focusing on both start and stop and then the correct order of how they make their letters. So the B is a big line down, you stop, then you jump back to the top and then make your two bumps for the B. Big line down, stop, jump to the top, and your two bumps. And so I also try and encourage you to use all of those words, the vocabulary to go along with how to make their letters so that they're working on understanding what start and stop and big line and jump, all of those concepts mean. So that's how we would do the uppercase letters to practice. Now I will say that in general, knowing the right order to do those letters in can also help. So this top row, I have examples of all the letters that sort of start at the top, make a big line down, and then jump back at the top. So if you want to practice letters in this order to start, those are all letters that have a similar start to how you make the letter. And then these three letters all go from the top to the bottom, but then when they come back up, they don't start right at the green dot. They actually have a different place to start their second formation line. These letters, these four letters, all start kind of in the middle and curve around. So you start with a C, you start out an O that looks like a C, but then you keep going. The Q starts out like an O, but then has a tail. And then the G, again, starts like a C, but it's got a couple extra little parts to it. And so those letters are similar. The S and the U are kind of their own bug. You can kind of demonstrate that the S starts out a bit like a C, but then it goes around. The U, again, is kind of its own bug, so that's a category of itself. And then these last few letters are the ones that are a bit of a struggle for a lot of our kids because they've got diagonal lines, and diagonals are a little bit more challenging. We have a couple diagonal letters that are up here as well, but these are always a bit more challenged just because diagonals are a harder stroke to learn. And so we focus on these letters last if that's a challenge for your student. And once we've mastered the uppercase letters, then we can move to the lowercase letters. And again, I have these divided out a little bit for you. So this first row are all of the lowercase letters that are made exactly like the uppercase letters are made. So they're just a smaller version of the uppercase letters. So those are great ones to start learning because they're not having to learn anything other than to make them smaller. And then what I've done is I've just divided out what we consider to be different size letters. So this row are your what are called small letters. These are the letters that are tall, and these are the letters that have a tail on them. And so you can practice making letters within this formation pattern just so that, so your student is able to get a sense of the different sizes of their letters. So this is a very long video, but learning how to make letters is a pretty intricate skill to learn.